Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The series starts off with a man running towards some absolute horror fuel, and a spectator says that he's fast as he cuts through the monster with lightning speed. The monster begins bleeding out, asking how dare he attack a god. The man from earlier says that an attack is coming and he has to run. But he's in the man's way, so he can't. The god realizes this and charges in. The man yells for him to watch out. As the god strikes the ground, the man dodges and counters by cutting straight through it. The god then grows multiple arms, and the man leaps overhead, cleaving through it, saying that this is the end. We learn that his name is Kusunagi, and multiple people congratulate him. His title is the Fallen God Slayer. His full name is Kusunagi Shotaro, and he's 22 years old. The man says he's a hero stronger and more reliable than anyone else. The one holding the bag is his younger brother, Hiromu, who's 18. He's very proud of his older brother. Shotaro thanks him for protecting the luggage, and Hiromu says it's the least he can do, that he's glad to be of use to them. They share a wholesome moment. We learn that 30 years ago, the Yaoyorozu, the 8 million gods, were defiled, and suddenly appeared the fallen towers, as well as the fallen gods. Monsters emerged from the fallen towers, and peace in the world was stolen. The only hope left for humanity are those chosen by the divine artifacts where gods dwell. The heroes raid the fallen towers, and if they defeat the god on the top floor and achieve victory, they can return that god to being one of the 8 million. Among the heroes, the 3 most renowned for their strength are the 3 elite, and the one famed as the strongest among them is Shotaro. Thanks to his efforts, the number of fallen gods has decreased, and peace is gradually drawing nearer. Hiromu is just a tag-along, a pack mule who can only run away. He wants to fight alongside his brother, but he quickly realized he was nothing but a burden. Still, he wants to witness his brother's great deeds up close and see the day he will exorcise all the fallen gods and reclaim their world. Suddenly, some monsters leap at Shotaro. Someone in the group says they should continue doing their best, and something touches Urabe, making him tweak out. Hiromu turns, wondering what's wrong, and we learn the man's name is Urabe. One of the monsters flies straight toward him, but it gets cut in half by Shotaro, who asks if they're both okay. They say they are, and Shotaro notes that the number of monsters keeps increasing, saying they're getting close. Urabe mutters that he doesn't genuinely believe defeating fallen gods will return the world to normal. Hiromu admits he wonders, too, and Shotaro says he doesn't know how long this life will last, mentioning rumors that fallen towers they've already cleared have revived. Hiromu notes that Urabe seems really worn out, but Shotaro tells them it'll be okay. He says they'll definitely end this curse, that he and his cursed sword will do it, and tells Hiromu to start thinking about what he'll do once peace is restored where he wants to live since he'll make it happen for him. Hiromu says he'd prefer a quiet life in the countryside. His brother laughs, saying that's not a very youthful dream. As a bridge appears before them, Shotaro says he'll go first, and everyone should stay close and follow him. Hiromu worries that if they get ambushed here, they won't stand a chance, but he reassures himself that his brother will carve a path through like always. At the door, Shotaro asks if everyone's ready, saying that it's finally showtime. But Hiromu senses something's off. As soon as Shotaro enters, he feels that something's wrong. Inside, the monsters aren't attacking. He tells everyone to wait and be careful, but the ground collapses beneath them, sucking them in. Shotaro manages to grab Hiromu and throw him out, telling him to bear with it. Everyone gets flung outside. Shotaro says Urabe will be the last. Urabe nods, saying okay. But then Shotaro says he'll save him and that he's fine with just this much. Urabe asks what he means by saving him, then stabs him through the chest. Hiromu screams out for his brother as Shotaro punches Urabe in the face. Urabe says that if Shotaro wants to save him, then he should become an offering for his sake. Shotaro tries to pull out the blade but can't. A red aura engulfs him. Hiromu calls for his brother again. Shotaro keeps screaming until the screaming turns into laughter. Hiromu realizes something's terribly wrong as Shotaro's sword flies toward him and lands at his feet. A voice speaks, saying that this body is brimming with energy, better than they imagined. Acquiring the body of one of the 3 elite was definitely worth it. Urabe bows before him, thanking Lord Futsunushi for calling upon him. Futsunushi, now possessing Shotaro's body, says that as a reward, he'll grant Urabe's wish. Urabe says he's tired of living a life of fear, that he wants to stop being human and live in peace. Hiromu asks why he betrayed them for his own sake, sacrificing humanity's hope. Everyone draws their weapons, saying they'll save Shotaro. Futsunushi smirks, saying this will be a good warm-up to get used to his new body. He raises his finger and flicks, killing one of the dudes instantly. He calls them worthless. Then he swings his hand downward, slicing another one in half as he falls to the floor like some deli meat. Hiromu realizes he has to do something. He notices Shotaro's curse-severing sword lying in front of him. If he has this, he might be able to save his brother. Maybe when his brother threw it earlier, it wasn't to attack him but to entrust him with the fight. Hiromu grabs the blade, saying that he can't do it before an arm stretches from his brother's body and grabs him by the throat. Hiromu says that his brother is humanity's hope and pride. Then he hears a voice telling him to lend his body. The blade itself is speaking, saying that they'll take Shotaro back. It slices off the arm holding him. Futsunushi asks what these movements are. Hiromu says his body's moving on its own, wondering if that the voice is from the blade. The sword explains that the one who stole Shotaro's body is Futsunushi, a fallen god born from human desire and despair, a parasite who steals human life force for power. They must strike him down before he fully takes over Shotaro. As Hiromu charges in, Urabe blocks him, saying to leave this to him. Blue energy floods around him, his hair lengthening. He tells Hiromu that he's nothing but a tag-along, and he's always hated him. Meanwhile, Futsunushi grins, saying that the host is resisting, but it's futile. He orders Urabe to destroy the curse-severing sword and annihilate Hiromu. Hiromu says that if they leave his brother like this, countless people will die, and everything his brother tried to protect will be destroyed. Everything would crumble by Shotaro's own hands, and that's something he won't allow. Something inside him clicks, and alongside the blade, he cuts down all the monsters flying toward him. Urabe sneers, saying Hiromu's getting cocky just because he picked up the cursed sword. He lunges, and the blade tells Hiromu to lend his body again, saying this opponent's too much for him alone. But the sword stops mid-sentence. Hiromu's holding his own completely. The sword admits he has good eyes but says he can't win by defending alone. Hiromu's shocked that the sword knows his name. The blade tells him to strike when the enemy drops his guard to charge in without hesitation. Hiromu says he understands and will trust the one his brother believed in. Urabe starts laughing, saying the power he feels now is beyond compare, nothing can surpass him anymore. But Hiromu charges straight in, and before Urabe can react, he's sliced clean in half. The blade tells Hiromu he has talent, that when he saw the opening, he attacked without hesitation, with a will of steel. Hiromu says his body feels light, that he's moving like someone else entirely, but he doesn't understand how he has such power. Still, he says he'll use it to save his brother. More monsters crawl from the floor, and Urabe begins to laugh. Hiromu steadies his grip, saying that in a place like this, he can't afford to stop. Then he hears the sword's voice again, saying it's still not enough, and he needs to surpass himself. Hiromu says it's the same voice he heard from the sword, and asks who he is. The sword says that his name is Gayamaru, and he is the wild god dwelling within the sword, and he was Shotaro's partner. The details can wait, as he acknowledges him as his master now. Hiromu says he can feel power surging through him, and he can fight better than before. Gayamaru says now they'll go save Shotaro, and Hiromu agrees. Urabe, now healed, starts to charge straight at him. Gayamaru says he's going to teach Hiromu the basic movements, and he can learn the rest through practice. Hiromu says it's strange, as he's never fought before, but he knows how to attack, and he can see the monster's weak points. He slices through them in an instant, following the exact path he just saw. Urabe asks how he can do this when he's nothing but a pack mule. Even Futsunushi is surprised by the power, but recognizes it as the curse-severing sword, saying that he's going to destroy it now. He swings down, but Hiromu blocks the attack. He and Futsunushi start exchanging blows one after the other, and Hiromu says he can see an opening. He raises his blade, and says he will end it with this, and stabs forward, but Urabe hits him with the Mr. President get down. Saying that there's no way he'd let him. Hiromu cleaves through the side of Urabe, saying that he needs to get his brother back now. Futsunushi looks down at him like he's looking at a bug, and stretches his hand out forward before throwing him onto the floor. He says that he's going to crumble at the hand of his beloved brother. Hiromu says that his power's leaving, and Gayamaru tells him it's his body's limit. If he gives him complete control of his body, he'll handle this for him. Futsunushi raises his hand, saying with this, it's over, before he swings down. Something stops him. Hiromu slowly opens his eyes, hearing his brother telling him to do it now. Hiromu tells him he's going to save him, and Gayamaru says that if he stabs him in the chest, they can separate the two, and that Shotaro will be injured, but he won't die. Shotaro says that the power is incredible, but Futsunushi tells him to shut up and give him the body already. Urabe as well grabs onto Hiromu's leg, saying it's too late, but Hiromu says he refuses to lose, but he looks up in horror until another attack comes into the room, cutting everything apart, asking for a report on the situation. This is the number 2 named Asanom Ryuzui. Hiromu's happy to see him, and Futsunushi says that his body's not acclimated yet, so taking on 2 strong opponents at once will be tough. He flies away, saying it's a shame he can't destroy the cursed severing sword, but he'll grant them a brief reprieve. Ryuzui asks if he's intending to escape through the fallen tower's window, saying they should split into 2 groups and pursue him. As they do so, Hiromu says he wants to explain what happened to his brother, but he overhears someone asking what the pack mule is doing there, and if Shotaro really became a fallen god, and he hears somebody saying that those possessed by fallen gods must be disposed of swiftly. Ryuzui asks what's wrong, telling him to continue his report, but Hiromu walks away. Ryuzui puts his sheath to his neck, asking him where he thinks he's going, telling him to leave the sword behind because only someone worthy should wield it. Hiromu looks at him, saying that he can't, but if it falls into anyone else's hands, his brother will be destroyed along with Futsunushi, and he said he's sorry, but until he saves his brother, it's out of the question. Ryuzui tells him not to chase impossible dreams, but Hiromu says it isn't. As his brother regained consciousness and saved him, so there's still time. Ryuzui tells him that nobody possessed by a fallen god has ever returned, and that will be true even for the 3 elite. Gayamaru says that it seems that they're the only ones who truly want to save him. Hiromu says if they don't listen, he has no choice but to run. Ryuzui says he can tell what he's planning, and Gayamaru tells him to use a technique, but he shouldn't be aiming to hit, just to break through. Ryuzui asks what he's doing as Hiromu charges in using his brother's technique, Thunder Flash. Ryuzui says that's unexpected, but it's fine, as he won't be able to escape from him. He blocks off his escape, and grabs him by the back of his shirt, and slams him into the floor. Hiromu starts to lose consciousness, but still grips onto the blade. Ryuzui goes to take it, but he looks over, and says that he knows he's there, and calls out to Gayamaru by name. He says the legend says that he only shows himself to those who he acknowledges as his, and he chose Shotaro without ever appearing before him, and yet they must quickly decide on a new master to give hope to humanity. Gayamaru says that he'll choose who he wants, and he wants to get Shotaro back. Ryuzui walks over to him, saying that he can't believe he drew out the power of the sword to that extent, and that he has plenty of potential. We get a flashback to when they were younger, and we see a younger Hiromu sitting on the bed. Shotaro enters, saying that they did it, and he was chosen as the wielder of the Blade of Purity. Hiromu tells him that's amazing, but Shotaro says that with this, he can now show him a peaceful world, one without towers or fallen gods. Hiromu says that this dream is nostalgic because it's from when his brother had just become a hero. But when he slowly opens his eyes once more, he sees a shadowy version of his brother, and he asks what's wrong. When his brother opens his eyes, we see they are a deep red. It's none other than Futsunushi, telling him that the body is his now. Hiromu starts screaming, saying that's right, and it was all because he was too weak that he couldn't save him. Gayamaru tells him that there's no time for crying, and to get up already. He then jolts awake, scaring one of the men beside him, who he recognizes as his friend, Mikoto. Hiromu asks where he is, and Mikoto tells him he's at the infirmary in the headquarters. Ryuzui suddenly carried him back here, and everybody was shocked. He's also been asleep for 2 whole days. Hiromu asks him where the Blade of Purity is, saying surely it hasn't already chosen a new master. Mikoto says that it's being kept by the association, and they're gathering new master candidates and holding trials. Hiromu says there's no way, as it was supposed to have chosen him as its new master. Mikoto tells him that they're trying to hold trials to see who can draw out its full power. Hiromu says that if it's him, he can handle it. Mikoto tells him that the chairman disagrees. He started the trials because he believes giving it to someone with more potential to grow would strengthen their organization more. He reminds him that gods are fickle, and even if he's been acknowledged now, as soon as someone better comes along, he'll just get kicked out of the way. But Hiromu says that will not happen. Mikoto says that they're members of the association, and they have to make choices for the future of humankind. Hiromu says that he refuses, and he won't just sit here. If someone else becomes the master, his brother will be killed, and he has to become the master of the blade, or he won't be able to save his brother. As he's running down the hallway, somebody calls out to him, and Hiromu asks what he wants. His name is Reiji, a tier 3 hero. He asks Hiromu to show him his strength, but Hiromu ignores him, so the dude hits him, telling him to try dodging or something, as he was supposed to be recognized by the blade, and the sword is a divine relic in its own category. It's inhabited by a god, and has been protecting humanity by repelling inhuman threats. Yet a weakling like himself dares try to be its master. There's no way trash like him could ever defeat Shotaro, one of the former three greats. A woman tells him to stop, and this is Shotaro's lover named Miki. She says that picking on Hiromu won't solve anything. Reiji tells her that he's not bullying him, he's just saying that he should quit since it's beyond his level. The previous holders of the Blade of Purity have only been capable heroes, able to defend from otherworldly threats. Typically, someone with the potential for special class is chosen, and yet somebody who's not even 4th class, and is still unranked, was picked instead. He can wield the sword, and he'll be the one to take down Shotaro. Hiromu says that he won't let him lay a hand on his brother, even when he was taken over by a fallen god, he still has his consciousness, so he can save him. Miki tells him that those possessed by fallen gods never come back, and that's why the higher-ups decided to have him eliminated immediately. She wants to enter the selection as well, because if he can't be saved, then she wants to be the one to kill him. Hiromu says the only two people who want to save his brother are none other than him and Gayamaru, and he tells them that he is the blade's master, and he won't hand it over to anyone. Ryuzei says that he's finally awake, and that he needs to demonstrate his strength over everyone, telling them to head to the training grounds now. Hiromu says yes, and Ryuzei tells both Miki and Reiji to follow as well to see if they think he has the strength or not to claim ownership. Inside the arena, we see two giant monsters and a bunch of candidates trying to fight them. The man says that they're strong, and that it's sad that they're so weak that they can't even take down that level of monsters, and the hole that Shotaro left behind is far too big. His name is Masanao and he is the chairman of the association. He then looks over at the door being opened, and sees Hiromu. He says that he's heard everything from Ryuzei, and that none of the candidates have been able to defeat these monsters, so if he wishes to be the master of the sword, then he needs to defeat them, and show everybody that he's capable, and he can't even think about running. Hiromu grabs the blade, saying yes sir, and Gayamaru appears, telling him that he looks sharp today. Also the old man definitely won't hold back, so he has to go full out from the start. Masanao says he has the feeling that he's saying all sorts of things behind his back, but it's time for them to unseal them, and that he wants to see Hiromu's strength against these beasts. Miki says that those monsters are what the chairman captured and sealed himself, and ordinary heroes can't stand against them. Gayamaru asks Hiromu what he thinks about them, and Hiromu says it won't be a problem. He stares at them before seeing both of their weak spots, and he charges forward, saying that their openings are huge. Gayamaru tells him to ascend as Hiromu unsheathes the blade. He uses a sword technique that's just like his brother's as he cleaves through one of them. Miki says that she wonders if someone can become this strong just by being chosen as its master. Gayamaru tells him to finish the other one off too, and when Hiromu turns, we see a giant explosion as Reiji says even without the Blade of Purity, this is easy. Hiromu asks what he's doing all of a sudden. Reiji tells him that he just wants to show his power off to the blade to prove that he's more worthy of being its master. Masanao says it's quite the discovery, wondering how he should guide them properly, calling them masses of hope. We learn more about Reiji, and at the age of 10, he was acknowledged by a divine blade and became a hero. He kept purifying fallen gods one after another, and those around him praised him as a prodigy. But eventually, he realized that he wasn't as good as he thought he was, and he blamed his weapon, saying that if only he had a better divine blade, he'd be able to fight stronger enemies, and if only he had Shotaro's sword, he could become a hero greater than him. Some time later, we see them all waiting for the announcement. Masanao says that he's sorry to keep them waiting, but it took them a while to reach a conclusion about who would be worthy of wielding the curse-severing sword. Considering strength and past results, it has been decided that Reiji shall wield the blade. Hiromu says at this rate he won't be able to save his brother. But Masanao tells Reiji not to celebrate yet, as there is an additional test. The team needs to go to the nearby fallen tower and bring back good results. Ryuzei will accompany them to judge whether they truly are worthy of inheriting the sword. Hiromu will accompany them too, and he may not have a turn to step in, but what he ends up gaining is up to him. So it's his choice. When they get there, Hiromu says this must be the target. Ryuzei says the scale of this land shows the fallen god's strength. Reiji says he knows, and he'll go all out so the blade will acknowledge him. Miki tells Hiromu that he'll need a weapon for self-defense, and she says she came along as a baggage carrier because she wants to witness whether the divine blade chooses Reiji as its master, but she's a little nervous. Reiji tells her not to be nervous since he is built different, and he'll make the blade acknowledge that he is better than that weak nobody. Hiromu says it's true that he is strong because he was only as strong as him with the divine blade, and that he needs to be capable of more. Some monsters fly at him, and he cuts them apart, saying that these small fry are no match, and someone stronger needs to come out. Miki says that if he becomes the master of the blade, he'll have to keep fighting forever, asking Hiromu if he's scared, because if he doesn't, he'll have the same fate. Hiromu says he's already made up his mind, as he can't afford to be scared since he has to save his brother. Reiji may be weaker than his brother, but his moves have no wasted motion, but there's definitely something about him. Ryuzui watches, and then we hear Gayamaru saying that he can't believe that bro is ignoring him. Hiromu says that he should be possessing Reiji though, and Gayamaru says that if he's near the sword, he can manifest, but it's getting boring when he's being ignored, and sure he has talent, but he relies on brute strength. He isn't even using 10% of his power, and yet they let someone like him wield the blade, and it's all because of that old geezer Masanao. Hiromu says it's less than 10%, and he's already that strong, which is crazy, but he needs to learn from that and get stronger as quickly as possible. When they reach the top of the stairs, Reiji readies himself as the fallen god welcomes him, asking if he's come to be his underling. Reiji says they wouldn't have come to this dump besides to kill him since he has become a fallen god. The god laughs, saying that it was best for them to take this form because when they were merely a god, no one came anymore, leaving him to rot away. Then a strange aura flowed in, and he gained power. Instead of being a being that rots without human power, he's now an existence that's capable of crushing humans. Reiji tells him to stop whining, saying that he's a huge nuisance to him, and that he needs to hurry and disappear. He cleaves through his head, but we see the attack doesn't actually have an effect. The god calls him impatient, saying that since he came all the way here, he'll respond in a form befitting the visit. Hiromu asks why the fog is getting thick so suddenly. Miki starts to panic. Hiromu wonders what's wrong before he looks over and sees it. What he sees is Shotaro's face, and the god says that he can become the strongest person from the memories of humans, and all of them recognize this man as the strongest one, meaning he has to be very powerful. He then uses Shotaro's sword techniques one after the other. Reiji says he needs to get a grip because this isn't Shotaro, and the god calls him pathetic, saying that he's nothing but a small fry who talks. Reiji says that he'll show him that he isn't, and that it's just that Shotaro was too strong. He'd observe everything around him, and give precise orders, and crush the gods with overwhelming power. He was the only person he ever admired, but also the only person he ever feared. And he's going to fight one of the 3 strongest heroes, so he doesn't know if he can win. He grits his teeth, telling himself to lock back in, and leaps forward, screaming. The god calls him weak, before grabbing onto his arms and throat, saying that he needs to admit he's a weakling. He's always blaming a weapon because of his shortcomings, and that's just him running away from his own weakness. And of course, there's no way he can win against a man everyone recognizes as strong. Reiji says this is bad because he can't gather any strength. The sword falls out of his hand onto the floor, and he looks up as the fallen god begins to unsheath his blade. His heart starts to sink, but Hiromu grabs the blade, using the same technique the god just showed him, saving Reiji, and he says that he'll fight him now. Gayamaru says that he's glad he's not running away. Reiji asks if he's afraid, as his opponent is one of the 3 great heroes, and as his little brother, he must know how strong he is. Hiromu says he's seen his strength more than anyone, which is why he'll be the one to fight him. Gayamaru asks if he understands, and Hiromu says he knows, that it's not his brother. His real brother changed before his eyes, and he refuses to lose to some fake like this. As he leaps at him, he says he's watched his brother's battles closer than anyone, and his brother's sword is not that straightforward, nor is it this slow. The god says that he sure does talk big, but he wants to see if he still can talk all that shit after taking his technique. Gayamaru flies in, and Hiromu says that his brother is not that much of a fool either. As a thread flies in, the god is surprised. As it starts to wrap around him, we see it was none other than Miki, saying that she won't let some fake ruin her lover's image. Gayamaru says as expected of his partner, that Hiromu needs to finish this in one strike. Hiromu then flies in, using his brother's technique once more, killing the god. Reiji watches the entire thing, and starts to get pissed before charging at him for stealing his credit. Ryuzui stops him though, saying that if Hiromu hadn't fought, he would be dead, and that he needs to admit that this is Hiromu's achievement. Miki says that she saw Hiromu's resolve, and he had perfect unity with the sword, as if Shotaro himself had returned. From now on, she wants to support him as an ally, and she'll prove she can be useful. They shake hands, and he thanks her. Gayamaru though tells him not to be satisfied just because he beat a fake, and Hiromu tells him that he already knows. Even if he has recognized the wielder of the sword, the fact remains that only he and Gayamaru are trying to bring his brother back. They head back to the association, and Ryuzei finishes his report. Masanao asks what happened, and Ryuzei tells him that the blade at the moment only recognizes Hiromu and their concerns, but he also recognizes him. Masanao says if this is true, there could be no objections. Ryuzei says even though he thought Hiromu was suitable, he still let Reiji hold the sword. Masanao tells him that having someone to push him to improve means that both of them would become rivals and grow, and he hopes Ryuzei trains him well as he's counting on him. Hiromu says the organization acknowledged him as the wielder of the sword, but without the sword, he's still weak. So training began to make him stronger. Miki says that he needs to do 10 more laps. Hiromu says this is tough, it's not just the amount, but it's keeping proper form as well. Reiji starts taunting him, calling him a weakling, and doing it over and over and over, doing exactly what Masanao wanted. Later on, after the day training is done, Hiromu trains with Gayamaru at night, as he guides him with the blade. Gayamaru can tell that something's on his mind, asking what's wrong, and Hiromu says training from morning till night is fine, but with Reiji next to him constantly mouthing off, competing on his own, it's exhausting. Gayamaru says he doesn't like it either, but he's perfect for his growth, and that he should work hard with him. Hiromu tells him he would rather train quietly alone, and Gayamaru tells him that having someone to push him higher is a blessing, he should be grateful for it. Hiromu says he'll listen to his advice, but says he never expected him to say something like that. But then again, he doesn't know anything about him. Gayamaru asks what's wrong, and Hiromu says it's nothing, as first he wants to get stronger, and then ask him after. It jumps to 3 days later, Reiji walks over to him, telling him it's time for some field training. Hiromu tells him that he hasn't finished Ryuzei's training menu yet, but Reiji comes in with a surprise attack, causing Hiromu to block it. Reiji says he told him it's field training, and the enemy won't wait for him to be ready. Hiromu says this is enough, he's just jealous because he was chosen as the swordsmaster. He's always admired Shotaro, and one day he'll surpass him, but along the way, he lost to him, which is why he'll beat him and start over. Hiromu calls him selfish, saying that he should learn from his strength, and to save his brother, he needs to surpass him. He sees an opening, and charges in, hitting both of them in an instant. He says even without Gayamaru's help, he landed a hit. Reiji falls to his knees, and Hiromu apologizes for not holding back, and Reiji tells him that he knows he's laughable. He couldn't do a single thing during the test, and the biggest reason he can't draw out his strength is because of his divine artifact, and if he had the curse-severing sword, he'd get closer to the strength he admired in Shotaro, but he refuses to run from himself anymore, and he'll become stronger. Hiromu can tell that he's going through it, but Reiji says he'll protect everyone in Shotaro's place, and next time he won't lose. Ryuzei then enters, telling them to depart immediately, as they have found Shotaro's location. Hiromu says he'll definitely save him, and someone else starts to approach Hiromu, saying that he can't believe this guy is the wielder of the sword, and that he's more like an offering. He's one of the 3 elites named Jin. Ryuzei tells him that Hiromu is recognized by the sword, and they'll proceed as planned, and that the 3 of them will form a team and challenge the fallen towers. Hiromu looks surprised, but up for the challenge. If you've watched till the end, comment, Bean, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.